when a teenage girl was stopped from taking her first-class seat. The flight crew assumed she didn't belong. What they didn't know was who her father was. When he arrived, everything changed. Watch until the end to see how this incredible story unfolds. The bustling atmosphere of the airport was filled with the sound of rolling luggage, announcements echoing overhead, and the scent of freshly brewed coffee from nearby kiosks. The excitement of travel was palpable as people navigated through security, eagerly awaiting their flights. Among them was Lila Carter, a 16-year-old girl with bright eyes and an air of quiet confidence. She strolled through the terminal with her carry-on bag in tow, feeling both exhilarated and nervous. Her father, Marcus Carter, had surprised her with a first-class ticket for her birthday. It was a gift she had worked hard to earn after months of excelling in school and extracurricular activities. This was her first time flying in first class, and the thought of the spacious seats, gourmet meals, and luxury treatment made her heart race with excitement. Standing in line at the gate, Lila eagerly checked her boarding pass. Her phone buzzed with a message from her dad. "Enjoy your first-class experience. Sweetheart, you've earned it." Lila smiled as she quickly typed back a reply, feeling a surge of pride. Walking toward the boarding area, she felt like a young adult stepping into a world that had previously seemed out of reach. Little did she know, her excitement would soon turn into an unexpected confrontation. As Lila approached the first-class section of the plane, ready to settle into her seat, a flight attendant named Karen Grant stepped in front of her, stopping her in her tracks. Holding up her boarding pass, Lila pointed to the bold letters that read 2A, First Class. "This is my seat," she said politely, her voice steady despite the unease creeping in. Karen barely glanced at the ticket before crossing her arms. "Mississippi first-class seats are assigned to passengers with premium tickets. If you don't have the correct boarding pass, I'll need you to return to your assigned section." Lila's cheeks flushed. She looked down at her ticket again, confusion evident on her face. "But this is my assigned section. My dad bought this seat for me." Karen's lips curled into a skeptical smile. "Your dad bought it," she repeated, her tone dripping with doubt. "Right. Why don't we double-check with the gate agent?" Nearby passengers began to glance over, their whispers growing louder. A man in a suit raised an eyebrow, while a woman across the aisle gave Lila a sympathetic look. Lila's heart pounded in her chest as she stammered, "I don't understand. This is my ticket." Karen sighed dramatically. "Fine. Sit for now, but I'll be verifying this shortly. If there's a mistake, you'll need to move." Nodding tightly, Lila slipped into her seat, her throat tight with humiliation. Around her, the weight of curious and judgmental stares was almost unbearable. She replayed the scene in her mind, the dismissive tone, the skepticism, the assumption that she didn't belong. It wasn't just embarrassing, it was infuriating. Lila reached for her phone, her thumb hovering over her dad's number. She thought about calling him but hesitated. Marcus had always told her to stand tall in the face of challenges and to handle situations with grace and confidence. His words echoed in her mind, "You belong wherever you choose to be." Taking a deep breath, Lila decided to stay calm and trust in her own worth. Minutes dragged on as Karen returned, this time accompanied by a gate agent. Karen's expression remained skeptical, while the gate agent looked nervous. "Mississippi," Karen began, her tone clipped. "We've reviewed your ticket." And before she could finish, the cabin door opened, and Marcus Carter stepped onto the plane, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit and carrying an air of authority. His presence immediately commanded attention. He scanned the cabin, his sharp eyes landing on Lila. The moment their gazes met, her shoulders relaxed slightly, and she offered him a faint, relieved smile. Marcus walked purposefully down the aisle, his tall frame exuding confidence. Karen turned toward him, irritation flickering into confusion. "Sir, we're just handling a seating issue here," she said, forcing a polite tone. Marcus didn't slow his stride. "A seating issue?" he repeated, his voice calm but carrying a weight that silenced the murmurs around them. "With my daughter?" Karen blinked, her mouth opening and closing as she processed his words. "Your daughter," she echoed weakly. Marcus stopped beside Lila, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder before turning to Karen and the gate agent. Yes, my daughter. And I'd like to know why she's being questioned about her seat, especially when her boarding pass clearly states she belongs here. Karen's face turned pale. The gate agent quickly nodded and muttered an apology, retreating to the back of the cabin. Karen followed, leaving the space in uneasy silence. Passengers exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of shock and awkward embarrassment. Some murmured among themselves, while others avoided eye contact altogether. Marcus crouched slightly to meet Lila's gaze at eye level. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. Lila nodded, though her voice trembled slightly. "I'm fine, Dad. But why does this always happen? Why do people assume?" Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder. "Because some people don't see beyond their own biases. But today, they learned that assumptions have consequences. More importantly, you showed them what it means to handle a situation with grace." Standing tall, Marcus addressed the cabin, his voice calm but deliberate. "To everyone here, let this be a reminder. The next time you see someone, don't assume you know their story based on how they look or what you think you know. Every person deserves respect, whether they're my daughter, a stranger, or anyone else." The cabin fell silent as his words settled over the passengers. A man in a tailored suit across the aisle cleared his throat, then spoke hesitantly. "Mr. Carter, I just want to say I'm sorry. We all should have spoken up earlier." A woman in the row ahead of Lila chimed in, her tone genuine. "She's lucky to have a father like you. And for what it's worth, she handled herself beautifully." As the plane soared through the sky, Lila gazed out the window, watching the clouds drift past. The tension of the earlier confrontation was fading, replaced by a sense of quiet pride. She turned to her father, seated beside her, his posture relaxed but his expression thoughtful. "Thank you for standing up for me, Dad," she said softly. Marcus smiled, his voice warm but firm. "I'll always stand up for you, Lila, but you stood up for yourself first. And that's what I'm most proud of. You didn't let them shake you." Lila nodded, her confidence growing with his words. "I just wish people didn't judge so quickly." Marcus leaned forward slightly, his tone carrying the weight of years of wisdom. "People will judge, no matter what. It's not right, but it's reality. What matters is how you respond. Every time you rise above it, every time you demand the respect you deserve, you're teaching the world to be better." A flight attendant approached from another section, placing a fresh glass of sparkling water on Lila's tray with a kind smile. "From the crew, with our sincerest apologies," she said sincerely. Lila glanced at her dad, who nodded approvingly. She sipped the water, letting the moment of vindication sink in. Marcus leaned back in his seat, glancing at his daughter. "Remember, Lila, you belong wherever you choose to be, and no one has the right to make you feel otherwise."